Welcome back to Broken Electronics. I'm Lee, and it's great, as always, to spend some time with you here today. In my most recent video, you saw the installation of a 1 terabyte SSD into the PowerMac G5 Quad. And I explained that the purpose for that SSD was to try installing Linux, and specifically Fienix PPC Linux, which is the only Linux distribution that I have run across that is designed specifically for the PowerPC architecture. That's what this video is going to be about. And I have here a 32 gigabyte USB drive. Now, just to explain a little bit, Fienix PPC is actually beta software, and its developer is a one-man show. So it moves along relatively slowly. What one downloads is actually a complete installation of the most recent version of Fienix, which you then copy onto a disk and run it from there. It's not an installer as we tend to think of. The developer does indicate that you can install it onto a hard drive if you wish, and gives some kind of vaguish directions to do that. But his plan basically is that for testing purposes of the beta software, you would install it on USB and run it from there. Now, of course, the PowerMac is restricted to USB 2. It is entirely possible that one might be able to install it onto an external drive, either FireWire or eSATA. But to begin my exploration, I'm going to do exactly what the developer says and try installing it onto this drive. Now, the drive that you're supposed to use, he says, should be at least 8 gigabytes. However, if you're going to really explore it at all, I think having the 32 gigabytes available will hopefully prove advantageous. Well, anyway, I'm looking forward to this. Win or lose on this, I think I'm going to find it very, very interesting, and I hope that you will find it interesting too. And if you do, of course, please stay tuned. Okay, here we are on the Leopard desktop. Now, I've done several things to prepare for doing this. You'll notice here, no name. That is a 32 gigabyte USB flash drive that I have inserted into a USB port. I have downloaded the Fienix SOAR, the code name of the this version of the beta operating system, and the archive utility has opened that already. So here we have our image. Now, first thing I'm going to do, we have the utilities folder. Let's open up disk utility. Now, what we want to do here is our USB flash drive, and we're going to get information. Control click, and what we're looking for here is the disk identifier, which is disk 4. That's going to be very, very important. Its master boot record is actually FAT32 disk, but that's not terribly important because it's still going to get completely overwritten anyway. Alright, now while we are here, let's unmount. And we have unmounted that, so we still see our drive in place, which is disk 4, remember. And we have unmounted the partition, which is important because the next command would not work. Alright, now we're going to quit disk utility. Having done that, we will now open Terminal. Now, I don't have a big problem using Terminal except for the fact that I am probably the world's worst typist, or one of them. And of course, anything you do in Terminal, you have to type the commands in exactly with no errors. So I'll go at this slowly. DD. Now what we're going to be doing, and space, what we're going to be doing is using the disk duplication command in Terminal to write the Fienix SOAR image onto that USB drive. Okay, so DD space if equals. Now we need the path to the image, and the easy way to do that is simply to drag the image there. And we see here now our path to that image. Okay. Then of equals slash dev slash disk 4 and enter. Now this is working, and it's awkward because Terminal doesn't give you any indication that it's actually working. It just sits there, and it will eventually be done. Now I can tell that something is going on because the activity light on the drive is flashing away like crazy. I do know from having done this, not often, but I've done it before, this can take a long time. I'm not sure whether it's going to take 40 minutes or an hour or 6 hours or whatever. So I think the best thing to do is not to make you sit here as this continues to work, but we will be back when something happens. So please stay tuned. Well, okay, we're closing in soon enough on 7 hours. It was about 3:20. It's 11:04 now. And the activity light is still flashing like crazy. Now, one thing you can do to check, go into Terminal, and if you try to quit Terminal, you get the warning. Do you want to close this window? Closing this window will terminate the running processes, login bash, and DD, or disk duplication. So I don't know. I'm not quite in bed yet. There's a Stanley Cup playoff game going on. It's going into overtime, so I suppose I'll check it again, but most likely I'm just going to end up letting it run overnight and see what happens. Good Lord. Well, anyway, stay tuned. Well, here we are, closing in on 8 hours. We're inside of 20 minutes to the 8-hour mark. I can't imagine that it's really taking this long, but given that it's as late as it is, and it's very late, I might as well just let it keep running overnight and see what happens. I mean, I'm looking down at the activity light, it's still blinking like crazy, and if we try to quit, we still get the warning about terminating disk duplication. So we shall see what I come up with tomorrow. That being the case, then stay tuned. Well, it's the next morning. It's actually been about 18 hours. Now, I don't know exactly how long this took. I looked about an hour ago, and the activity light was blinking away like crazy. Uh, and when I tried to close terminal, I got that same warning uh, about terminating running processes. Well, last time I looked, and when I looked, it was about 18 hours and 20 minutes after I had started the process, uh, the light was out. So let's see. We can just quit terminal. Okay then. Let's give a second here and look in disk utility. Well, okay, what's surprising me here is that we're not seeing the drive at all. I would have expected to. Okay, I'm going to disconnect it. And connect it again. And we should... Okay, there it is. Disk 4S3. Okay, yeah, so it's not really able to tell me very much here. Can't mount it. Capacity 5.4 gigabytes. All right. So yeah, that actually lines up. That would be approximately the size of the image, which will eventually need to be expanded. All right. Well, as best I can tell, it's worked, but as I say, I'm a little surprised there that we weren't able to see anything from the disk. I would have expected a disk unreadable or something, but we didn't get it. Okay, so what I'm going to need to do now, the next step to see if this is actually working will be to restart the computer. And of course I can't use screen recording software to capture that, so we're going to have to reconfigure and go back to the old camera so we can see, will this actually boot up? Well, stay tuned. Alright, so we're going to reboot, restart. And as the computer restarts, we'll be holding down Command, Option, O, and F with the goal of booting into open firmware. All right, we have the chime. Any moment now. Okay, and here we are in open firmware. All right, now I'm challenged in the same way with open firmware that I am in terminal, in that I don't type very well, but we're going to type boot UD :2 backslash backslash ya boot and enter. Can't open device or file. Okay, I'll try typing that once again. Boot UD colon 2. Oh, comma. See, one thing. And here we go. Yeah. Leave out the comma, and of course the open firmware cannot recognize the command. All right, we see the beginning of Fienix booting up, loading the kernel. And it was warned that this can take a while. Okay. Loading the RAM disk. That's the next step in the process. And fans are ramping up. Yeah, that was supposed to happen as well. You know, the notes here say it may take a couple of minutes for the system to load the kernel on the RAM disk. Your fans may momentarily spin up to high, which they have certainly done. Tell you what, I think I'm going to stop the clip and then we'll pick it up when something else is happening. Stay tuned. All right, well, things are now happening. Of course, that's all going by so fast you can't really read it. Okay, things look all right so far. You can see down there at the bottom is it's starting up various things. Network manager login service, host name service. Hmm. Okay, I'm going to need to look into this a little bit, so stay tuned. Well, you know, it's a matter of being patient. I just sat there for a while. I was looking up a variety of things here when suddenly it just came in. Okay, username, password. Now this is a pre-built image, so I'm not giving away any secrets here. All right. We're on the right track at least. Okay, now the password. If you really want to know what the username and password is, look on the website. It's the same with all of them. Well, it is slow, but of course this is USB 2. So everything has been slow. Oh, something happened to the cursor there. All right. Yes, it is taking its time. And here we are on the Fienix desktop. By golly. Fienix there. Beautiful wallpaper. That must be Crater Lake there. Oh, wow. Okay. So, where we're going to go from here, part of the directions here, the pre-built image is under 6 gigabytes. It doesn't leave a whole lot of room. So what you're supposed to do is use gparted to expand the operating system partition to the entire disk. Now the only way to do that realistically is to make another USB disk, boot into that USB disk, and then from that USB disk you there's the home folder. You boot into, you expand the partition on the USB disk you really want to use, etc. It's, like I say, it's beta software. So I will have to do that before I can go very far. I'm going to have to play around with a little bit on the USB and then go through installing it on the SSD. which is possible to do, but there are not particularly clear directions given on doing it. Installing it, you just use disk duplication to put it on the built-in SSD. That's no problem. Then arranging to get it to boot is another issue. But we'll cope with that. Anyhow, I think at this point, for the purposes of this video, we're about at the end. We do have a working PowerPC Linux distribution, a distribution that is intended specifically for PowerPC machines, which I think is really cool, and gives a lot of potential for where we can possibly go with our grand old machines looking into the future. So anyway, be good to other people. They deserve it. Let's make a better world. Be good to yourself so you can enjoy the better world. And sadly, we know it really isn't a better world right now, so take very, very good and very careful care in these most difficult times. We'll be back with you soon with more videos. It'll be a while before we get to some conclusions about Fienix PPC and how functional it's going to be, because there's a lot to go through yet. But here's the beginning. Until that time, this has been Broken Electronics.